Alex Reed stared at his phone screen, his tired eyes struggling to focus after 12 hours of meetings with clients. The hotel room in Seattle felt especially empty tonight. He scrolled mindlessly through his Facebook feed, the blue light illuminating his face in the dark room. Pictures of high school friends' vacations, advertisements for shoes he'd looked at last week, and a distant cousin's new puppy filled his feed. Nothing interesting. Then he stopped scrolling. His mother-in-law, Judy, had posted a picture of a tiny newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. The caption made his heart drop into his stomach. "So blessed to welcome my beautiful granddaughter into the world. Congratulations to my amazing daughter Lisa on becoming a mom. 6 pounds, 8 ounces of pure perfection." Alex blinked hard. He read the caption again. His wife had given birth? That was impossible. Lisa was only 7 months pregnant when he left for his business trip 5 days ago, and she hadn't called him. Not a text. Nothing. "What the hell?" he whispered, his voice sounding strange in the empty room. He immediately tapped Lisa's contact and called her. The phone rang and rang before going to voicemail. "Hey, this is Lisa. Leave a message and I'll call you back." Alex ended the call without leaving a message and tried again. Straight to voicemail this time. He scrolled back to his mother-in-law's post, studying the tiny face barely visible among the blankets. The post was from 3 hours ago. His daughter, if that really was his daughter, was 3 hours old, and he'd found out through Facebook. Alex stood up and began pacing the hotel room. He and Lisa had been trying for a baby for nearly 4 years. 4 years of doctor appointments, disappointments, arguments, and finally, joy when the pregnancy test showed positive. They'd painted the nursery together just last month. A soft yellow with white trim. The crib was still in boxes in the garage when he left for his trip. So how could she be here already? And why hadn't Lisa called him? He sat back down on the edge of the bed and checked his text messages with Lisa. The last one was from yesterday. "How's the big presentation going? Don't forget to eat something besides hotel food." He'd replied, "Presentation went great. Too tired for dinner. Miss you both." There was nothing unusual about their conversation, nothing suggesting she was in labor or even feeling unwell. Alex checked his missed calls. Nothing from Lisa. He checked his email. Nothing. He opened Facebook again and clicked on Lisa's profile. She hadn't posted anything since sharing a picture of their dog sleeping on her pregnant belly 4 days ago. Alex ran his hand through his hair and tried to think logically. Babies came early sometimes. Maybe it had been an emergency. Maybe she'd tried to reach him when he was presenting to clients and his phone was on silent. Maybe she was still recovering and couldn't call yet. But why would her mother post before Lisa had a chance to tell him? He called Judy. No answer. He called Lisa's sister, Tina. No answer there either. Alex got up and walked to the window, pulling the curtain back to look at the Seattle skyline. It was nearly 11 p.m. His flight home wasn't scheduled until tomorrow afternoon. Without hesitating further, he opened his laptop and searched for the earliest flight back to Chicago. There was one leaving at 6 a.m. He booked it, not caring about the cost or what his boss would say about him leaving before the client wrap-up meeting. Something was wrong, he could feel it. While packing his suitcase, Alex tried Lisa again. This time the call connected. "Hello?" It wasn't Lisa's voice. "Who's this?" Alex asked, his hand tightening around the phone. "It's Judy. Lisa's resting." "Judy, what's going on? Did Lisa have the baby? Why didn't anyone call me?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Oh, Alex, we tried calling you multiple times. The baby came so fast. Lisa's water broke this morning, and 2 hours later, little Grace was here." "I don't have any missed calls from you or Lisa. Not one," Alex said, his voice rising. "I had to find out my daughter was born by seeing your Facebook post." "That's not possible," Judy said. "Lisa said she called you right when her contractions started. She said your phone went straight to voicemail." Alex checked his call history again. "Nothing. I'm coming home. I got a flight for tomorrow morning. I'll be there by noon," he said, trying to control the anger and confusion in his voice. Can I talk to Lisa now? She's sleeping, Alex. The birth was hard on her. The doctor gave her something for the pain. Wake her up. I need to talk to my wife. I'm not going to do that, Judy said firmly. She needs her rest. You can talk to her when you get home. Alex closed his eyes, counting to 5 in his head. Fine. But tell her I called as soon as she wakes up and tell her I'm coming home. I will. And Alex? Congratulations. She's beautiful. After hanging up, Alex sat on the edge of the bed staring at nothing. Something didn't feel right. Lisa would have made sure he knew she was in labor. She would have left messages, texts, something. And why were all her calls mysteriously missing from his call history? He couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. With shaking hands, he scrolled through his contacts and called his younger brother Dave. Unlike everyone else in his life tonight, Dave answered on the second ring. Hey, what's up? Dave's voice was groggy with sleep. Lisa had the baby, Alex said bluntly. What? Already? Isn't it too early? Yeah, 2 months early. And get this, no one bothered to call me. I found out on Facebook. That's messed up, Dave said, sounding more awake now. Is the baby okay? I guess so. Judy didn't say anything about problems. Alex hesitated. Listen, can you go check on them? I've got a flight in the morning, but I'm freaking out here. Now it's almost midnight. Please, Dave, something weird is going on. Lisa's mom said they called me, but I don't have any missed calls. I need someone I trust to lay eyes on them and tell me everything's okay. Dave was quiet for a moment. All right, I'll head over there now and call you back. Thanks, man, I owe you. After hanging up, Alex continued packing, throwing clothes haphazardly into his suitcase. His mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. Was Lisa hiding something from him? Was the baby okay? Was their marriage falling apart without him realizing it? 30 minutes later, his phone rang. It was Dave. Hey, I'm outside Lisa's house, but no one's answering the door. Judy's car is here, and I can see lights on upstairs. I've knocked like 10 times. Alex's stomach clenched. Can you see anything through the windows? Not really. The blinds are closed. Wait. Someone just looked out the upstairs window. I think it was Judy. She saw me, but she's not coming down. That's insane, Alex said, pacing again. Call her. Tell her it's an emergency. Okay, hold on. Dave went silent for a moment. Alex could hear the faint sound of a phone ringing through Dave's end. She's not answering. Try Lisa. More silence. Then Dave came back. Nothing. Straight to voicemail. Alex kicked his suitcase in frustration. This doesn't make any sense. My wife just had our baby, and they're acting like... He couldn't even find the words. Like they're hiding something. Dave finished for him. I'm coming home now. I don't care if I have to sit in the airport all night. Something's not right. I'll keep trying to get in, Dave promised. Maybe I'll go around back. Be careful, Alex warned. Don't do anything illegal. Just keep an eye on the place until I get there. After hanging up, Alex booked an even earlier flight, threw the rest of his things into his suitcase, and checked out of the hotel. As he waited for his rideshare to the airport, he tried Lisa's number again. This time she answered. Alex? Her voice sounded weak and distant. Lisa, what's going on? Why didn't you call me when you went into labor? I did call you, she said, her voice breaking. I called and called. There's nothing on my phone, not one missed call from you. I don't know what to tell you, she said. I tried reaching you. Is the baby okay? Are you okay? She's beautiful, Alex. So tiny, but healthy. The doctors say she's strong. Why is your mom blocking Dave from coming inside? There was a pause. Dave's here? Yes, I asked him to check on you when no one would answer my calls. He's been knocking for 10 minutes, and your mom is ignoring him. Another pause. Alex could hear muffled voices in the background. Mom didn't know it was Dave, Lisa said finally. She thought it might be a stranger since it's so late. I'll tell her to let him in. I'm coming home. I got an earlier flight. I'll be there by 9 a.m. Okay, Lisa said quietly. I'm sorry about all this, Alex. It happened so fast. Something in her voice didn't sound right. It wasn't just exhaustion or pain medication. She sounded afraid. "Lisa, is there something you're not telling me? Is something wrong?" "No," she said too quickly. "Everything's fine. The baby's fine. I'm fine." "Then why do you sound scared?" "I'm just tired, Alex. It's been a long day." Before he could press her further, she said she had to go. The nurse was checking on the baby. She hung up, leaving Alex staring at his phone in disbelief. 2 minutes later, Dave called back. "They finally let me in," he said. "Lisa's here with the baby. She looks exhausted, but okay. The baby's tiny, but seems healthy." "Anything strange?" Alex asked. Dave hesitated. "Maybe nothing, but I saw Tom's jacket on the couch, and his laptop's on the kitchen table." Alex felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Tom, his older brother, the successful one, the one who never had time for family gatherings but apparently had time to be at the birth of Alex's child. "Are you sure it's his?" "Positive. It has that tech company logo on it. The one he's always bragging about." Alex closed his eyes, feeling sick. "Is he there now?" "No, just Lisa, the baby, and Judy. I asked where he was, and Judy said he'd gone out for food." The rideshare pulled up to the curb. Alex grabbed his suitcase. "I'm on my way to the airport. Don't leave until I get there." As Alex climbed into the car, his mind was spinning with questions. Why was his brother's stuff at his house? Why had everyone tried to keep him from finding out about the birth of his own child? And what was Lisa hiding from him? He had a 7-hour flight to think about it. But one thing was already becoming painfully clear. His life was about to change in ways he never expected, and it had nothing to do with becoming a father. The flight from Seattle to Chicago felt endless. Alex hadn't slept a wink. His eyes burned and his thoughts raced with every possible explanation for what was happening. None of them were good. A kind-faced flight attendant stopped by his seat. "You look like you could use this," she said, handing him a cup of coffee. "That obvious, huh?" Alex attempted a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I've seen that look before. New baby at home?" "Just born yesterday," he said, his voice catching. "I'm meeting her for the first time." The flight attendant's face softened. "That's wonderful. First child?" Alex nodded, not trusting himself to speak without his voice cracking. "Well, congratulations. Those first moments are magical." She moved on to the next row, leaving Alex to stare out the window at clouds that seemed just as tumultuous as his thoughts. His phone buzzed with a text from Dave. "Still here. Everyone's sleeping now. Call when you land." Alex checked the time. Less than an hour until landing. Less than 2 hours until he'd be home, facing whatever truth awaited him there. He tried to focus on the baby. His daughter, Grace. He was a father now. That should be the only thing that mattered. But he couldn't shake the image of Tom's jacket on his couch, his brother's laptop sitting in his kitchen like it belonged there. Tom had always been the golden child. The straight-A student, the college athlete, the tech executive with the corner office. Meanwhile, Alex had struggled to find his footing, bouncing between jobs until he finally landed a position as an IT consultant 3 years ago. The job paid well but kept him on the road for days, sometimes weeks at a time. Lisa had never complained about his travel schedule. At least not until she got pregnant. Then the arguments started. She wanted him home more. He explained that his travel was what paid for their house, for the nursery, for the life they were building. They'd figure it out after the baby came, he promised. Had Tom stepped in while he was away? Had he played the role of supportive brother-in-law a little too well? The plane began its descent into Chicago, the familiar skyline coming into view. Alex's stomach knotted with dread and anticipation. After landing, he rushed through the airport, bypassing baggage claim with just his carry-on suitcase. The rideshare to his house in the suburbs took another 30 minutes. Every red light felt like torture. Finally, the car pulled up in front of his 2-story home with its neatly trimmed lawn and American flag by the door. Tom's sleek black car was parked in the driveway next to Judy's minivan. Dave's beat-up pickup truck sat at the curb. Alex paid the driver and stood for a moment staring at his house. The home he'd bought for Lisa 3 years ago. The place where they were supposed to raise their family. Taking a deep breath, he walked up the path to his front door. He had a key but decided to knock. Dave opened the door, his face a mixture of relief and concern. He pulled Alex into a quick, tight hug. "Man, am I glad to see you." How is everyone? Alex asked, stepping inside. Lisa's upstairs with the baby. Judy's making breakfast and… Dave lowered his voice. Tom came back about an hour ago. He's in the kitchen with Judy. Alex's jaw tightened. He set his suitcase down by the door.
Has anyone explained why they didn't call me?
No one's saying much of anything to me. They're all walking on eggshells. Alex nodded and headed toward the kitchen, Dave following close behind. He found Tom and Judy standing by the stove, talking in hushed voices that stopped abruptly when he entered. Alex? Tom said, his face carefully neutral. You made it. You sound surprised, Alex replied coldly. Considering no one bothered to tell me my daughter was born. Judy turned from the stove, her face flushed. Alex, I told you. We tried calling. And I told you I didn't get a single call. He looked directly at Tom. But apparently everyone else knew, including you. Tom crossed his arms. Lisa called me yesterday morning when her water broke. She was scared and alone. She wasn't alone. She had her mother, Alex said, gesturing to Judy. What I want to know is why your stuff is all over my house. An uncomfortable silence fell over the kitchen. Tom and Judy exchanged a look that made Alex's blood boil. I've been helping out, Tom said finally. Lisa needed someone around with you traveling so much, especially in these last months. Helping out how exactly? Alex stepped closer to his brother. Even though Tom was taller by 2 inches, Alex felt himself standing straighter, meeting his brother's gaze without flinching. Alex, stop it, Judy interrupted. This isn't the time. Lisa just had a baby, your baby. She needs support, not drama. Drama? Alex laughed bitterly. My wife gives birth, no one tells me, and I come home to find my brother has moved in. But I'm the one causing drama. Tom held up his hands. I haven't moved in. I've just been staying over sometimes when Lisa needed help. In which bedroom? Alex asked, his voice dangerously quiet. That's enough, came a voice from the doorway. They all turned to see Lisa standing there, looking pale and tired in a bathrobe, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. You're going to wake Grace with all this yelling. Alex felt a rush of emotions at the sight of his wife. Relief, love, anger, suspicion, all swirling together until he could hardly breathe. Lisa, come upstairs, she said softly. Come meet your daughter. The kitchen fell silent as Alex followed Lisa upstairs to their bedroom. A small bassinet stood next to their bed, and inside was a tiny bundle wrapped in the pink blanket he'd seen in the Facebook post. Lisa carefully lifted the sleeping baby and turned to Alex. This is Grace, she whispered, gently placing the newborn in his arms. Alex looked down at his daughter's face for the first time. She was so small, so perfect. Her tiny rosebud mouth, her button nose, the soft dark hair peeking out from under her cap. Something broke open inside him, a flood of love unlike anything he'd ever experienced. She's beautiful, he whispered, tears welling in his eyes. For a moment, nothing else mattered. Not the suspicious circumstances, not Tom's presence, not the unanswered questions. Just this perfect little human in his arms. But as he studied her face, a cold feeling crept into his chest. Grace had a full head of dark hair, so dark it was almost black. Both he and Lisa were blonde. He looked up at Lisa, who was watching him with anxious eyes. She has dark hair, he said quietly. Babies often change hair color as they grow, Lisa replied quickly. My mom says I was born with dark hair that fell out and came in blonde later. Alex wanted to believe her. He desperately wanted this moment to be pure, untainted by doubt, but he couldn't ignore the facts piling up in front of him. Why didn't you call me when you went into labor, Lisa? The truth this time. Lisa sat on the edge of the bed, wincing slightly. I did call you, Alex, I swear I did. Then why didn't I get the calls? Why didn't you leave a voicemail? Send a text? Email? Anything? She looked down at her hands. I was scared. Everything happened so fast. My water broke 2 months early. I panicked. So you called Tom instead of trying harder to reach me? Lisa's eyes filled with tears. He was closer. I knew he could get to me faster. That doesn't explain why no one told me after she was born. Your mother had time to post on Facebook, but not to make sure I knew I was a father? Grace stirred in his arms, making little mewling sounds. Alex instinctively rocked her gently, surprised at how natural it felt. I asked her not to, Lisa admitted in a whisper. I wanted to tell you myself. But then the doctors gave me something for the pain, and I fell asleep and… She trailed off, wiping tears from her cheeks. Alex carefully placed Grace back in her bassinet before turning to fully face his wife. "Why is Tom's stuff all over our house?" Lisa's face crumpled. "Please, Alex, not now. I just had a baby." "I think that makes this conversation more urgent, not less," he said, fighting to keep his voice low and calm. "Has Tom been staying here while I've been away on trips?" "Sometimes," she admitted. "He helped me put together the crib, fix that leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. It's little things you didn't have time for." The implication stung, but Alex pressed on. "And was he staying in the guest room or our room?" Lisa's head snapped up, her eyes flashing with anger through her tears. "How can you ask me that? After everything we've been through together?" "It's an easy question to answer if nothing happened." "Nothing happened," she said firmly. "Tom is your brother. He was just helping me while you were gone." Alex wanted to believe her, but something still felt off. The way Tom and Judy had been whispering in the kitchen, the way they all seemed to be walking on eggshells around him. "I'm going to ask you one more time," he said quietly. "And I need you to be completely honest with me, Lisa. Is there something going on between you and Tom?" Lisa stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. "I can't believe you would even think that. I just gave birth to our daughter, and you're accusing me of cheating? With your brother?" "I'm not accusing. I'm asking." "Well, the answer is no. Nothing is going on between me and Tom. He's been a good friend when I needed one. That's all." Before Alex could respond, there was a soft knock at the door and Judy poked her head in. "Everything okay in here? The baby needs to eat soon." "We're fine, Mom," Lisa said, though her red-rimmed eyes said otherwise. Judy looked between them, her face tightening with concern. "Alex, why don't you come downstairs and have some breakfast? Lisa needs to feed Grace and get some rest." Alex hesitated, torn between pressing for more answers and giving Lisa space. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, but this conversation isn't over." He leaned over the bassinet, gently stroking Grace's cheek with one finger. "I'll be back soon," he whispered to his daughter. As he followed Judy downstairs, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was still missing something important. Everyone was telling him what he wanted to hear, but their actions didn't match their words. His wife, his brother, his mother-in-law, they were all hiding something, and he was determined to find out what it was. The next few days passed in a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and tense silences. Alex had called his boss and explained the situation. Well, part of it anyway. He'd been granted 2 weeks of emergency paternity leave. 2 weeks to figure out what was really going on in his own home. Tom's presence remained a constant irritation. Though he'd stopped staying overnight after Alex's return, he still showed up every day bringing groceries, takeout food, or baby supplies. Each time, Lisa would brighten visibly at his arrival, while Alex felt increasingly like an outsider in his own family. Judy had finally gone home after 3 days, but not before pulling Alex aside for a talk. "Lisa needs support right now. Not interrogation," she'd said firmly, her arms crossed over her chest as they stood in the kitchen. "Whatever suspicions you have, keep them to yourself. This is a delicate time. I have a right to know what's been happening in my own house," Alex had replied, keeping his voice low to avoid waking Grace, who was finally sleeping after a fussy afternoon. "Nothing has been happening except your brother helping your wife while you were too busy with work to be here," Judy had snapped. "Be grateful someone was looking out for her." The conversation had ended there, with Alex swallowing his anger and Judy packing her bags. But her words had only deepened his resolve to uncover the truth. On the 4th day after his return, Alex found himself alone in the house for the first time. Lisa had reluctantly agreed to let Tom drive her to her postpartum checkup, taking Grace along in her car seat. Alex had offered to drive them, but Lisa insisted he needed rest after being up with the baby all night. As soon as their car pulled out of the driveway, Alex began his search. He felt a twinge of guilt. This was his wife, the mother of his child, but he pushed it aside. Too many things didn't add up. He started in the guest bedroom where Tom had supposedly been staying. The bed was made, the room tidy. No personal items remained, but the closet door was slightly ajar. Inside, Alex found 3 of Tom's dress shirts hanging neatly, a pair of expensive running shoes on the floor. Next, he checked the bathroom attached to the guest room. Tom's electric razor sat on the counter, along with his cologne and a toothbrush. In the shower, he found Tom's shampoo and body wash. "Just helping out, huh?" Alex muttered, photographing everything with his phone. He moved on to the nursery. The crib was indeed assembled, the yellow walls cheerful and bright. A mobile of stars and moons hung above where Grace would eventually sleep when she outgrew the bassinet in their bedroom. On the changing table sat a framed photo that made Alex's chest tighten. Lisa in the hospital bed, holding newborn Grace, with Tom sitting on the edge of the bed, his hand resting on Lisa's arm. They were both smiling at the camera, looking for all the world like the proud parents of a newborn. Alex took the photo from its frame and slipped it into his pocket. In his home office, he found more evidence of Tom's extended presence. His brother's laptop charger was plugged into the wall. A notebook with Tom's handwriting lay open on the desk, filled with what looked like work notes. And tucked beneath a stack of mail was a birthday card. Alex opened it. To Lisa, here's to new beginnings and the journey ahead. All my love, Tom. The card was dated 3 months ago. Alex hadn't even known Tom had acknowledged Lisa's birthday. But the real discoveries came when he checked Lisa's nightstand. In the drawer, beneath a novel she'd been reading, he found a small jewelry box. Inside was a silver bracelet he'd never seen before. The attached card read simply, "For the mother of my child." The handwriting was unmistakably Tom's. Alex sat heavily on the bed, the bracelet clutched in his hand. The mother of my child. Not niece or future niece, Giver's my child. With shaking hands, he continued searching. In the back of the drawer, he found a burner phone, one of those prepaid models you could buy at any convenience store. He turned it on and when no password was required, began scrolling through the messages. They were all between Lisa and a contact saved simply as T. The text dated back nearly a year, starting innocently enough with Tom checking on Lisa when Alex was traveling. But as he scrolled forward in time, the messages became increasingly intimate. Miss you already. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was perfect, and most damning of all, a message from 7 months ago. I can't believe we're having a baby. I never thought I could be this happy. Alex felt physically ill. He returned to the sent messages from Lisa and found one that confirmed his worst fears. Alex thinks the baby is his. I don't know how to tell him the truth. The phone nearly slipped from his numb fingers. He forced himself to keep reading, to gather all the evidence he could. The messages continued right up until 2 days before Grace was born, when Lisa had texted, "It's too early." "I'm scared," Tom had replied, "I'm on my way." "Don't call Alex yet. We need to talk first." Alex set the phone down, his mind racing to process what he'd discovered. His brother and his wife had been having an affair. The baby, Grace, was most likely Tom's child, not his. They had deliberately kept him in the dark, letting him believe he was the father. Everything made sense now. The dark hair, the missing phone calls, the way they all walked on eggshells around him. He was debating what to do with this information when he heard the front door open. Quickly, he put everything back where he found it except for the burner phone, which he slipped into his pocket alongside the photo. "Alex," Lisa called from downstairs. "We're home." Alex took a deep breath, trying to compose himself before facing his wife and brother. He walked downstairs to find Lisa settling Grace's car seat on the living room floor, while Tom brought in a bag of takeout food. "How was the appointment?" Alex asked, amazed at how steady his voice sounded when he felt like screaming. "Good," Lisa said, not quite meeting his eyes. "Everything's healing normally. The doctor said Grace is gaining weight right on schedule." "That's great," Alex said, turning his attention to Tom. "Can I talk to you outside for a minute?" "Man to man." Tom glanced at Lisa, who looked suddenly nervous. Sure. Let me just set this food down." "What's going on?" Lisa asked, her voice slightly higher than normal. "Just want to thank Tom properly for all his help," Alex said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Won't take long." Tom followed him out to the backyard. As soon as the door closed behind them, Alex whirled around, shoving the photo in Tom's face. "Want to explain this?" he demanded. Tom took the photo, his expression carefully neutral. "It's just a picture from the hospital. Where I should have been," Alex said. "But instead it's you looking every bit the proud father." He pulled out the burner phone next. "And then there's this. Quite an interesting read." All the color drained from Tom's face. "Where did you get that?" "From my wife's nightstand." "You know my wife? The one you've been sleeping with?" The one who's apparently carrying your child, not mine. Tom took a step back, raising his hands defensively. Alex, listen. No, you listen, Alex hissed, keeping his voice low enough that Lisa wouldn't hear from inside. I've read enough to know exactly what's been going on. You've been sleeping with Lisa while I was on business trips. Grace is your daughter, not mine, and you both decided to lie to me about it. It's not that simple, Tom said, his normally confident voice shaking. Lisa and I, it just happened. We never meant to hurt you. Never meant to. Alex couldn't even finish the sentence. The rage he'd been suppressing threatened to boil over. You're sleeping with my wife. You got her pregnant. How exactly did you think that wouldn't hurt me? She was lonely, Alex. You were gone more than you were home. She needed someone, and I was there for her. So this is my fault? I was working to provide for my family, and that justifies you stepping in to sleep with my wife? Tom looked away, unable to meet his brother's gaze. We fell in love, he said quietly. It wasn't planned. The words hit Alex like a physical blow. Love. Not just sex, not just an affair, but love. His brother and his wife were in love. Does Mom know? Dad? Alex asked, his voice hollow. Tom shook his head. No one knows except Judy. She figured it out about 3 months ago. So my mother-in-law knew my wife was cheating on me with my brother and she was fine with it? Alex laughed bitterly. That explains a lot. She was upset at first, but she wants what's best for Lisa and the baby, and that's not me, apparently. Tom finally looked up, meeting Alex's eyes. I'm sorry. I truly am. We were going to tell you after the baby was born. We didn't want to stress Lisa during the pregnancy. How considerate, Alex spat. So what was the plan? Let me believe Grace was mine until, what, her first birthday? Her 5th? When exactly were you planning to tell me you'd stolen my wife and passed your child off as mine? Before Tom could answer, the back door opened and Lisa stood there, Grace cradled in her arms. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. What's going on? She asked, though the look on her face suggested she already knew. Alex held up the phone. I found your secret phone. I know everything, Lisa. She clutched Grace tighter to her chest. Alex, please, is she mine? Alex demanded, gesturing to the baby. Or is she his? Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know, she whispered. I honestly don't know. Alex felt like the ground had dropped out from beneath him. He'd been prepared for the worst. But hearing Lisa admit there was doubt about Grace's paternity made it real in a way the text messages hadn't. You don't know, he repeated flatly, because you were sleeping with both of us. Lisa nodded miserably, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. You slept with my brother. He got pregnant. And then you both decided to lie to me about it. I was going to tell you, Lisa said, her voice breaking. After Grace was born, when things settled down. When exactly? Before or after letting me fall in love with her? Alex felt his own eyes burning with unshed tears. Before or after letting me believe I was finally a father? Tom stepped forward, placing himself slightly between Alex and Lisa. Let's all calm down. We can figure this out. There's nothing to figure out, Alex said coldly. I want a paternity test. And until we get the results, I want you out of my house. He looked directly at Tom. Both of you. You can't kick Lisa out, Tom protested. She just had a baby. She needs to recover. She can recover at your place, Alex said. Or her mother's, I don't care where. But I can't stay under the same roof with either of you right now. This is my house too, Lisa said, finding her voice. You can't just throw me out. Watch me, Alex said, though even in his anger he felt a pang at the thought of separating Lisa from her home so soon after giving birth. Fine, you can stay in the guest room for now. But I want him gone, he pointed at Tom. And I want that paternity test as soon as possible. Tom looked at Lisa, who nodded slightly. I'll go, he said. But this isn't over, Alex. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults don't sleep with their brother's wife, Alex replied. Adults don't lie about a baby's father. So don't talk to me about acting like adults. As Tom gathered his things from around the house, Alex retreated to the living room, collapsing on the couch with his head in his hands. His entire life had just shattered around him. His marriage, his brotherhood, his fatherhood, all built on lies, and the worst part, despite everything, when he looked at baby Grace, all he felt was love. Pure, unconditional love for a child who might not even be his. The house felt empty after Lisa and Grace left. Alex stood in the nursery doorway looking at the unused crib, the changing table stocked with diapers, the stuffed animals arranged neatly on a shelf. He'd imagined this room filled with baby sounds, crying, cooing, giggling. Instead, it was silent, a monument to what might have been. It had been 3 days since the confrontation in the kitchen. 3 days since Lisa had tearfully packed bags for herself and Grace, loading them into Tom's car while Alex watched from the window, unable to bring himself to help or say goodbye. 3 days of silence broken only by a brief text from Lisa. "We're at Tom's. Let us know when you're ready to talk about the paternity test." Alex hadn't responded. He wasn't ready to talk to either of them. The paternity test. The thought of it filled him with both hope and dread. What if Grace was his? Could he forgive Lisa? Could they rebuild their family? And what if Grace wasn't his? Could he walk away from the baby girl he'd already fallen in love with? He wandered downstairs and poured himself a glass of whiskey, his third of the evening. The alcohol dulled the edges of his pain but couldn't touch its core. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through the photos he'd taken of Grace in her first few days. Her tiny hand wrapped around his finger, her peaceful sleeping face, her wide eyes staring up at him. "She might not be mine," he murmured to himself, "but it sure feels like she is." A knock at the door startled him out of his thoughts. For a moment, hope surged. Maybe Lisa had come back, but then reality set in. Lisa had a key. She wouldn't knock. He opened the door to find his parents standing on the porch, concern etched on their faces. His mother stepped forward immediately, pulling him into a tight hug. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "We came as soon as we heard." Alex stiffened. "Heard what exactly?" His father cleared his throat. "That Lisa left. That there's trouble." Alex stepped back, letting them into the house. "Who told you, Tom?" His parents exchanged a glance. "No," his father said. "Lisa's mother called us. She was upset." "I bet she was," Alex said bitterly, returning to the living room and his abandoned whiskey. Upset that her daughter's affair got exposed, or upset that her daughter had to leave her nice house? His mother followed him, her face troubled. "Alex, what's going on?" Judy wasn't making much sense. "Something about the baby not being yours? About Tom being involved somehow?" Alex laughed, a hollow sound with no humor in it. "Oh, Tom's involved, all right. He's been sleeping with Lisa for the past 6 months. Grace might be his child, not mine." His mother gasped, sinking onto the couch. His father remained standing, his face hardening. "That can't be true," his mother said, shaking her head. "There must be some mistake." "No mistake," Alex said, draining his glass. "I saw the messages between them. Tom admitted it to my face. They've been carrying on behind my back while I was away on business trips." "And the baby?" his father asked, his voice tight with anger. "We don't know yet," Alex admitted. "Lisa was apparently sleeping with both of us around the time of conception." "We're getting a paternity test." His mother began to cry softly. His father paced the room, his hands clenched into fists. "I knew something wasn't right," his father muttered. "Tom's been acting strange for months. Distant at family gatherings. Making excuses not to come to Sunday dinners. I thought it was just work stress." "It was guilt," Alex said. "Hard to look your family in the eye when you're stabbing your brother in the back." His mother wiped her eyes. "Where are Lisa and the baby now?" "Staying with Tom. The happy little family." Alex couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "You let them go together?" his father asked, incredulous. "What was I supposed to do? Lisa just had a baby. She needs help. And if Tom's the father..." Alex's voice broke, unable to finish the thought. His mother moved to sit beside him, taking his hand. "Regardless of biology, you are that little girl's father in every way that matters. You were there for Lisa throughout the pregnancy. You've been caring for Grace since she was born. DNA doesn't make a father. Love does." "Your mother's right," his father added, sitting on Alex's other side. "And we're here for you, son. Whatever you decide to do, whatever the test results show, we're on your side." For the first time since the confrontation, Alex felt tears burning behind his eyes. He'd been holding himself together by a thread, and his parents' unconditional support was unraveling him. "I don't know what to do," he admitted, his voice cracking. "Part of me wants to fight for Grace regardless of whose DNA she carries. And part of me can't stand the thought of looking at her every day and seeing Tom's betrayal." "You don't have to decide anything right now," his mother soothed. "Give yourself time to process everything." "We're staying at the hotel downtown," his father added. We'll be here as long as you need us." After his parents left with promises to return the next day, Alex found himself pacing the empty house, too wired to sleep despite the whiskey in his system. The walls seemed to close in around him, every room filled with memories of his life with Lisa, dreams for their future together. He grabbed his keys and headed out, no destination in mind. He just needed to drive, to move, to be anywhere but the house that no longer felt like home. Somehow he ended up outside Tom's apartment building. The lights were on in his brother's unit on the 4th floor. Was Lisa up with the baby? Was Tom helping her, playing the role of devoted father that should have been Alex's? The thought made his stomach turn. He was about to drive away when he spotted Tom on the building's front steps smoking a cigarette. Even from a distance, his brother looked haggard, his normally perfect appearance disheveled. Before he could think better of it, Alex got out of the car and approached. Tom looked up, surprise and wariness crossing his face. "Alex, what are you doing here?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "I was driving around and ended up here." Tom took a long drag from his cigarette. "Lisa's finally asleep. Grace has been fussy all day." The casual way Tom talked about Alex's wife and daughter, as if he had every right to them, made anger flare in his chest. "Must be nice playing house with my family," Alex said coldly. Tom winced. "It's not like that." "No? Then what's it like, Tom? Explain it to me. Help me understand how my own brother could sleep with my wife and possibly father my child." Tom stubbed out his cigarette, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "I never meant for any of this to happen, Alex, I swear. I was just helping Lisa out at first. She was lonely with you gone so much. We'd have dinner, watch movies, just keeping her company. And then, Tom sighed heavily. "I don't know. One night we had too much wine. She was crying about how much she missed you, how scared she was about becoming a mother. I hugged her and somehow that turned into more." "Somehow," Alex repeated flatly, "like you had no control over it." "I'm not making excuses," Tom said. What we did, it was wrong, inexcusable. But it wasn't just physical, Alex, He hesitated. "You what? Fell in love?" Alex's voice dripped with sarcasm. To his surprise, Tom nodded. "I think we did. Or at least I did. I fell in love with her. And I think she has feelings for me too." The admission hit Alex like a punch to the gut. It was one thing to imagine his brother and wife in a physical affair, driven by loneliness and proximity. It was another to hear that emotions were involved, that feelings had developed. "And the baby? When did you find out she might be yours?" Tom looked away. "Lisa missed a period about a month after we first got together. She took a test and it was positive. But she'd also been with you when you were home from your Chicago trip, so she didn't know. So you both decided to let me think the baby was definitely mine? To trap me in a marriage where my wife was in love with my brother? Where my child might not even be mine?" "It wasn't like that," Tom insisted. "Lisa wanted to tell you the truth. I was the one who suggested waiting until after the baby was born. I thought it would be less stressful for her, for the pregnancy." "How considerate," Alex said bitterly. "And what was the plan after that? Were you going to tell me? Or just keep me in the dark while continuing your affair behind my back?" "We were going to tell you," Tom said quietly. "After the paternity test. If the baby turned out to be yours, Lisa was going to try to make your marriage work. End things with me. If the baby was mine..." He trailed off. "If the baby was yours, what? You'd run off together, play happy family while I was left with nothing?" Tom didn't answer, which was answer enough. Alex leaned against the railing, suddenly exhausted. "Did you ever think about me in all this? About what it would do to me?" "Of course I did," Tom said, his voice breaking. "I've been sick with guilt, Alex. You're my brother. I love you. What I did, it's unforgivable." "I know that. Then why did you do it?" "Because I'm selfish," Tom admitted. "Because when I'm with Lisa, I feel something I've never felt before. Because when she told me she might be carrying my child, all I could think was that I wanted it to be true." He looked up at Alex, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I'm not proud of myself, but I can't lie to you anymore." They stood in silence for a long moment, two brothers bound by blood and torn apart by betrayal. Finally, Alex spoke. "I want to see Grace." Tom looked startled. "Now?" "Yes, now. She's still my daughter, at least until a test proves otherwise." And even then, he couldn't finish the thought. Tom nodded. Come up, but be quiet. Lisa's exhausted and Grace just fell asleep. Following his brother up to the apartment felt surreal. This was the man who had betrayed him in the worst possible way. Yet here he was, leading Alex to see the baby they both loved, the baby who might belong to either of them. The apartment was dimly lit, a bassinet set up in the living room. Alex approached it slowly, his heart pounding. Inside, Grace slept peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Her dark hair had grown even in the few days since he'd last seen her. She looks like you, Tom said quietly from behind him, around the eyes and mouth. Lisa sees it too. Alex reached into the bassinet, gently stroking Grace's cheek with one finger. I've scheduled the paternity test for tomorrow, he said, not taking his eyes off the sleeping baby. I called the lab today. Okay, Tom said. What time? 11. They need cheek swabs from me and Grace. We'll be there. Alex straightened up, finally turning to face his brother. I don't know what's going to happen, Tom. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you or Lisa. But no matter what that test says, I want to be part of Grace's life. She's innocent in all this, Tom nodded. I know, and you should be. You're her father in all the ways that matter. So are you, Alex admitted reluctantly. If she's yours biologically, I won't fight you for custody. But I want visitation, regular visitation. Of course, Tom said quickly. Regardless of what the test says, you're her uncle at minimum. She should know you. The word uncle stung. Just days ago, Alex had been Grace's father. Now he was negotiating to be her uncle. I should go, he said, taking one last look at the sleeping baby. Tell Lisa I'll see you both at the lab tomorrow. As he drove home, Alex felt oddly calm. Seeing Grace had centered him somehow, reminded him what was really important. No matter whose DNA she carried, that little girl needed love, stability, and family. And despite everything, he was determined to give her that. 6 months had passed since that day at the lab. 6 months of adjustments, heartbreak, healing, and unexpected joy. Alex sat on a park bench watching as Lisa placed 8-month-old Grace into a baby swing. The little girl squealed with delight as Lisa gently pushed her, those chubby legs kicking with excitement. Higher, Alex called out with a smile. She likes it higher. Lisa gave him a look that was half exasperation, half amusement. You always say that, and then she gets scared. No way. She's fearless, aren't you, Gracie? Alex made a silly face at the baby, who responded with a burst of delighted giggles that warmed his heart. These park meetups had become their new normal. Every Wednesday afternoon and every other weekend, Alex would spend time with Grace. Sometimes Tom came along, sometimes he didn't. Today he was noticeably absent. Where's Tom? Alex asked casually, trying to keep his voice neutral. Lisa's hands hesitated briefly in their rhythmic pushing of the swing. Working late. Some big project deadline. Alex nodded, unsurprised. Tom had been making himself scarce during these visits lately. Perhaps it was too uncomfortable, or perhaps he was finally respecting the boundaries Alex had set. Either way, Alex preferred these times when it was just the three of them. Him, Lisa, and Grace. The paternity test results had arrived 10 days after the samples were taken. Alex had stared at the envelope for hours before finally opening it, his hands shaking. The clinical language had been confusing at first, but the conclusion was unmistakable. Alexander Reed was excluded as the biological father of Grace Reed. The probability of paternity was 0%. He'd expected the news to destroy him. Instead, it had brought a strange clarity. Grace wasn't biologically his, but in the weeks he'd cared for her, fed her, changed her diapers, and rocked her to sleep, she had become his in every way that mattered. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. Lisa hadn't fought him on anything. Not the house, not the cars, not the bank accounts. But custody of Grace had been complicated. Legally, Alex had no rights to her. Tom was her biological father, and Lisa was her mother, yet neither had tried to cut him out of Grace's life. She needs to know her daddy, Lisa had said quietly during mediation. Both her daddies. The custody arrangement they'd worked out was unusual, but it seemed to be working. Lisa had primary custody. Tom, as the biological father, had regular visitation rights, and Alex, despite having no biological or legal claim to Grace, was granted regular visitation as well. Their friends thought they were crazy. His parents had been skeptical but supportive. Lisa's mother had been openly opposed, until she saw how Grace lit up whenever Alex walked into the room. "Want to take her for a bit?" Lisa asked, lifting Grace from the swing. "I need to make a quick call to the daycare about tomorrow." "Of course," Alex said, reaching for the baby eagerly. Grace came to him willingly, her little hands patting his cheeks as he settled her on his hip. "We'll go check out the ducks, won't we, sweetheart?" As Lisa stepped away to make her call, Alex walked Grace over to the small pond where a family of ducks was swimming. He pointed them out to the baby, who watched with wide-eyed fascination. "See the ducks, Gracie? Can you say duck?" "Duck? Da," Grace replied, drooling slightly. Alex laughed. "Close enough. You're so smart." He bounced her gently, breathing in the sweet baby smell of her hair. These moments were what kept him going through the dark times, and there had been plenty of those. The nights alone in the empty house, the pitying looks from co-workers, the days when the anger and betrayal threatened to consume him. But then there were days like today, when Grace's smile reminded him that good things could come from even the worst situations. That love wasn't always simple or straightforward, but it was always worth fighting for. Lisa returned, slipping her phone into her pocket. "Everything okay?" Alex asked. "Fine, just confirming her drop-off time for tomorrow." Lisa hesitated, then added, "Tom and I are going to look at apartments this weekend." Alex felt a jolt of surprise. "You're moving out of his place?" Lisa nodded, not quite meeting his eyes. "We think it's for the best." "Are you two—" Alex trailed off, unsure how to ask the question or whether he even wanted the answer. "It's complicated," Lisa said quietly. "We're trying to figure out what's best for Grace, and for us." Alex nodded, understanding better than most how complicated relationships could be. 6 months ago, he'd wanted to hate both Lisa and Tom forever. He'd fantasized about cutting them completely out of his life, making them suffer as he had suffered. But Grace had made that impossible. Loving her meant finding a way to coexist with her mother and her biological father. It meant swallowing his pride, managing his anger, and focusing on what was best for this little girl who had captured his heart from the moment he first held her. "I've been meaning to tell you," Lisa said, reaching out to brush a leaf from Grace's hair. "I found a therapist who specializes in blended families, unusual ones like ours. I thought maybe we could all go, you, me, Tom, figure out how to make this work long-term for Grace's sake." Alex considered the suggestion. 6 months ago, he would have laughed at the idea of sitting in a room with the two people who had betrayed him trying to work things out. But now, "I think that's a good idea," he said finally. "Grace deserves to have all of us in her life getting along as best we can." Relief crossed Lisa's face. "Thank you. I know this isn't easy for you." "None of it's been easy," Alex admitted. "But she's worth it." He looked down at Grace, who was now contentedly chewing on his shirt collar. They walked around the park for another hour, taking turns carrying Grace and pushing her stroller. The conversation flowed more easily than it had in months, focusing mainly on Grace's development, her new foods, her sleep schedule. The safe topics of co-parenting rather than the painful history that had brought them here. As the afternoon wound down and the sun began to set, they made their way back to the parking lot. Alex's car was parked next to Lisa's, his new normal carefully separated from his old life. "Same time next Wednesday?" Lisa asked as she secured Grace in her car seat. "Actually," Alex said, "I was wondering if I could take her to the Children's Museum on Saturday instead. They have this new exhibit I think she'd love." Lisa hesitated. "That's supposed to be Tom's day with her." "I know. I thought maybe the three of us could go together. Me, Tom, and Grace." The words felt strange coming out of his mouth. 6 months ago, he couldn't have imagined voluntarily spending time with his brother, but for Grace's sake, he was willing to try. Lisa looked surprised, then thoughtful. "I think Tom would like that. I'll ask him and let you know." "Great." Alex leaned into the car to give Grace a goodbye kiss. "Bye-bye, sweetheart." "Daddy loves you." "Da-da," Grace babbled, reaching for him. Alex felt his heart swell. She'd been making that sound for weeks now, but it still hit him the same way every time. In her eyes, he was Dada, regardless of what a DNA test said. As he watched Lisa drive away with Grace waving from her car seat, Alex reflected on how different his life had turned out from what he'd planned. A year ago, he'd imagined a traditional family, him, Lisa, their child. Now he was a divorced man sharing parenting duties with his ex-wife and his brother, navigating a family structure that few would understand. But as painful as the journey had been, he couldn't regret it. Not when it had brought Grace into his life. Not when it had taught him that family was about more than blood or legal ties. It was about choice, about showing up, about loving someone enough to put their needs above your own hurt feelings. His phone buzzed with a text as he got into his car. It was from Tom. Lisa mentioned the museum on Saturday. I'm in if you are. Grace would love it. Alex stared at the message for a long moment. The anger that had once consumed him when he saw Tom's name had faded to a dull ache. It might never disappear completely, but it no longer controlled him. He typed back, "Sounds good. Meet you there at 10. I'll bring coffee." It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly, but it was a step forward, a choice to focus on building something new, rather than dwelling on what had been destroyed. As he drove home to his empty house, Alex felt something he hadn't expected to feel again after everything that had happened. Hope. Hope that the unconventional family they were creating might actually work. Hope that Grace would grow up surrounded by people who loved her, regardless of how they were connected. Hope that sometimes the most beautiful things could grow from the most painful truths. And for now, that was enough.